Bleeding purple and gold. From the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Welcome to today's show. As always, we are powered by CLNS Media and LakersNation.com, your one-stop shop for all things Lakers. Today's show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app and use the promo code NATION. Get $20 off your first purchase of concert or sporting event tickets. I use it all the time. Totally worth it. Again, use that promo code NATION. Now, today we've got a ton to talk about because the trade deadline is coming up on Thursday, so the Lakers are going to have a lot of big decisions to make. Plus, they just picked up a giant win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, so we need to break that down. I've brought in Pete Zayas of Laker Film Room and Forum Blue and Gold, as well as Harrison Faigen, senior writer for LakersNation.com. Guys, thanks so much for hopping on with me.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, this should be fun, Trevor.
So I guess first, I was anticipating that the Lakers probably weren't going to do too well against the Oklahoma City Thunder because historically they haven't. So I thought we were just going to spend this entire show talking mostly about the trade deadline. But here it is. We can celebrate a win. How the heck did the Lakers pull this off?
Well, they really defended their butts off in most of this game. Josh Hart, can't say enough about him. Back-to-back games with double-digit rebounds and just so many plays of him just rotating, making that extra, small play that makes the shot a little more difficult. I love that Brook Lopez is getting more minutes and getting more touches. They really ran the offense through Julius through much of the game, and he, was very physical. The whole game was really physical, and him on Melo was, probably the biggest part of that. So, yeah, it was really a signature win for the team this year that's really starting to turn it around now that we've reached 2018.
Yeah, I 100% co-sign everything that Pete just said. I think Lopez, especially as a playmaker, was really good today. I saw him make a couple nice reads. I think Clarkson also deserves some credit. He shot really well, especially in that third quarter, and he's been playing like crazy lately. I really liked that lineup that they ran out there in the fourth quarter where it was the starters, but with Clarkson replacing KCP. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty good. And then Hart, you really can't say enough about how well he's played since moving into the starting lineup, which I'm assuming is since you last recorded. But the Lakers are now 2-0 with Hart in the starting lineup. And I just think that the way that he gets rebounds or he just gets the ball and goes directly to the rim in transition like a missile has really helped the Lakers a lot.
Yeah, that was a great thing that we saw out of Lonzo Ball was the defensive rebounding and then getting the team into transition immediately. And Josh Hart is not Lonzo Ball. They're very different players. But as far as the rebounding goes, he's kind of mimicking that in a way.
Yeah, he's helping them in a similar way without being the same player.
Right.
Yeah. It's something that having guards that can rebound like that, and there's a degree of physicality to Hart's game that Lonzo isn't quite there yet, and it makes sense, right? Josh is a little bit older than Lonzo is, but he allows you to, maybe switch a little bit more. If he needs to tag the roll man, he can do that a little more physically than most guards can. So he brings this element, kind of this power guard element to the game that the Lakers really haven't had in a while, and it's great to see.
When Lonzo does come back, would you guys be in favor of keeping Hart in that starting five, even if it means, it will probably be at the expense of KCP?
I would be in favor of it. I don't think it'll happen.
That's pretty much my answer as well. I also think, Luke is very much, he very much likes how 5-man lineups work together rather than how an individual may be playing, and now he'll close with the 5 guys that he trusts the most on that particular night. But I think that if Luke sees a lineup playing well together and the starters, when Lonzo was in the lineup and they had moved Randall into the starting lineup alongside Lopez, that group had played pretty well together. So I think he keeps them together. But I don't think we're going to see Hart fall out of the rotation the way he had. I think in Orlando he played 9 minutes, didn't come in until the third quarter. I think that he's going to be a bigger and bigger part, and we'll probably see less Corey Brewer once Lonzo gets back rather than less Josh Hart.
Yeah, agreed. Josh Hart has been phenomenal. If the minutes do come at the expense of Corey Brewer, so be it. I think it seems like the Lakers have found another steal in this draft. I saw a bunch of people blowing up on Twitter talking about this, how not only did you find a guy like Kyle Kuzma, who didn't have a great day against OKC. I liked what he did defensively, but offensively his game just wasn't there. But you find Kuzma late, you find Josh Hart late, and both these guys are making major contributions. Plus you add Lonzo and Thomas Bryant. Of course, we've seen really good things in the G League. Hasn't come over yet or hasn't translated yet to the NBA game, but there's some potential there as well. How huge was this last draft for the Lakers? I mean, this is an exciting time when you look at what they have coming up.
I would jump in and say that it's incredible. It's really good for them, especially given the context of they don't have a first rounder this year. So to get that much value late, where they got guys like Kuzma, they got Hart, and then even Thomas Bryant looks like he might end up being a player at some point based on how he's played in the G League. To get a bunch of young guys like that to kind of supplement whatever veterans you're going to be bringing in this offseason, and so the team can continue to naturally grow even if they get a little bit better behind some older players. I think it's huge, especially when you factor in that they don't have their first round pick this year.
The most important, the best cost to value type of player that you can get in the NBA is a really good player that you drafted at the end of the first round. And the reason being is that those guys are locked in for 4 years and they're just barely over veteran minimum throughout the length of those 4 years. So a guy like Kuzma, someone tweeted this at me during the OKC game and it blew my mind because it's right. You know that KCP this year is going to make more than Kuzma and Hart will make combined over the next 4 years. That's incredible.
Insane.
That's insane. Yeah, that's nuts.
I actually saw your tweet about their salaries over the next couple of years. It's just like, it's laughable that the Lakers are going to get players of this caliber for that cheap, for like locked in for the next 3 years after this one.
And so they're basically free players, right? So what's the worst case scenario for the Lakers kind of going forward is they can't sign max guys this summer. They can't move Luol Deng's contract. Well, Deng has 2 years on his contract after this. Even if they have to hold on to him for the entire time, they don't stretch him or anything like that. All that means is by 2020, those guys like Hart and Kuzma and Lonzo will still be on their rookie contracts. Even Ingram will have 1 more year left on that rookie contract. So you could have completely clear books with your best players on rookie deals and then have all of this space once these guys are hitting their early to mid 20s. Like, to me, that the early 2020s, that's always been the sweet spot for where the Lakers can hit. And if they can do it before then, that's great. But the impact, Trevor, of what you're saying, those of drafting those guys at that point, to me, that's the biggest part, is that even if they're not superstars, you're basically getting free players that can be good parts of championship caliber teams, and you're just paying them peanuts, and you have got all this room for all of these great players that you can sign with the extra space available.
And they're going to be starting to show right around then how good they can really be. And so that would, you would think, be like enticing to free agents in 20. I'm not off the top of my head. I don't have the 2020 free agency class memorized, but every year has big names. I would assume that the Lakers would be able to target some guys, provided they don't mess up their books over the next couple of years.
Well, sure. But what do you guys think about the fan base? I mean, do you think fans would really be okay with not landing any big names between now and 2020? I mean, we're talking about 2 off seasons between now and then.
Fans aren't okay with anything.
That's true. And also, I mean, it hasn't been just 2 off seasons. It's been, about 5 years of this since Dwight Howard, said that he didn't want to resign. So I think my impression is that, first off, people always thought that Laker fans were going to fall by the wayside once Kobe retired. And that hasn't happened at all. Laker Nation is still represents as hardcore as they ever have. And I think that as long as there's continued improvement, now don't get me wrong, Laker fans, we all want them to sign the big fish, but even if they don't, if they're improving, if they say by next year become that team that just squeaks into the playoffs and gives the number 1 seed a run for their money with this current group, that's progress. And I think as long as they're doing that, I think Laker fans are going to stick around. I think that if we see kind of them fall back and go back to a mid-20s wins type of team, I think then you're going to start seeing that dissatisfaction.
And I think the other thing, too, is these guys are so young and they're already playing really good defense already that you already know that you found players that can play a winning style of basketball. They just have to start to figure the offense side out. So, I don't know if I'm willing to predict an 8 seed run next year, just if this current group stays the same. But they're going to be on the fringes of that, especially just if you're factoring in natural improvement and you're factoring in that Lonzo Ball won't be a historically bad shooter all season.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, you've got this group that, in theory, if you were to bring them back next year, probably wouldn't be too bad. They're not going to be title contenders or anything like that, but there'd be some optimism for the future. And yet, here we are. We're just a few days away from the NBA trade deadline, which is February 8th. So what should the Lakers' plan be here? I mean, should they just kind of sit this one out and be happy with the group that they have, or should they be looking to make moves? I mean, we know that they want to clear cap space, but it seems like they're kind of walking a tightrope here. This is going to be a balancing act for them.
Well, this is a tougher question to answer on the heels of a great win, which is Harrison and I have a habit of doing this, so we should pod more often, Harrison, because the Lakers always do well before we do. But
as far as I know, they're undefeated when we podcast. We'll just throw that stat out there.
That's analytics right there. You can't dispute that.
Hire us, Lakers. We'll podcast daily.
That's right. So I think that Clarkson is the guy that makes the most sense to move, and if you can get. Ramona Shelburne recently had a report out there that the Lakers were getting an offer for a first-round pick, but also assuming a contract on top of that, or you can clear a contract but not get any compensation back from him.
Right.
I'd be fine if they sat this trade deadline out, because I think if you have to move Clarkson, you can still do it over the course of the summer. But I think that they're in a position to be judicious with what they do, and if the right offer doesn't come along, they don't have to make a move, because anything that they would need to do for 2018 free agency, I still think they can accomplish over the summer.
The only thing that I'd be wary of as far as Clarkson is he's played really well lately, but he's also been prone to these stretches where he goes into this like prolonged lull and he's just really, really bad, like an actively detrimental player. And so my only thing would be maybe you trade him, you try to get something for him now while his value's high instead of having to dump him over the summer. Like, should he come back to like after the trade deadline and, break out of this hot streak that he's been in recently?
For what it's worth, I don't think that that's really how the NBA works from a guy's on a 7-game hot streak and therefore his value's all that much higher. I think that by this point he's been in the league long enough to where the league kind of knows the streakiness of him. So I think they know what they're getting for the most part if they would trade for a Jordan Clarkson. But I guess I would ask you guys this, and Trevor, I'll ask you this. Is what would you move Clarkson, and if so, what's kind of the threshold for I need to get at least this much back for him?
Well, that's just it. I think that if you're going to move a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who's going to help you win games this season, then it's got to be an attractive piece, because I think that this team has to have some positive momentum heading into the offseason. So I struggle with trading away a guy like Clarkson for pure cap space, because even though, you free up a little bit of room for the summer and you can make your run at LeBron James and Paul George and all that, how many more games do you lose because you don't have Clarkson in that second unit? And then what kind of a perception is there of your team heading into that offseason? Are players looking at the Lakers as maybe being not quite as good? I mean, they just beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've got a win over the Celtics. They've got a few uplifting victories where you want guys like Paul George, guys like LeBron, other players in the league to look at the Lakers as this team that, hey, these guys are maybe a piece or two away. They've really got something going here. And if you part with too much talent now at the deadline just to free up space for the future, you may not kind of have that shine to your team heading into the offseason. So I'd be very wary trading a guy like Clarkson who has made such a big impact here. A first-round pick is nice. Adding on that contract, though, then it's tough. I guess it all depends on who the pieces are in play. But I think the Lakers have to be very cautious here, and I'd be more in favor of making these moves in the offseason than making them now based on what we've seen over these last few weeks.
I guess I do kind of see your point in that perception is such a huge part of this. And so even if the guys like Clarkson and Lopez and KCP, even if those guys are contributing and they aren't necessarily going to be there for that next team that the free agent to be that the Lakers are going after, whether it's Paul George or LeBron, even if those guys aren't going to be there when LeBron and Paul George come, just the fact that they had those fun wins or they had those upset wins or they had that positive momentum and perception boost going into free agency, I think does something, even if those players aren't going to be around when, for that next Lakers team.
100% with you guys on that fact, but I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here so first off, I think that you don't trade a guy for cap space until you get secure the commitment from the guys that you need to secure it from, right?
Agreed.
I think the order of it is important. I don't like trading cap space and hoping. You want to be able to say, hey, these guys say they're going to sign on the dotted line, and then we got to make moves to, clear up cap space. That's what Jerry West did for Shaq. He ended up moving a bunch of guys, once he got the commitment, Anthony Peeler, George Lynch, etc. However, with as well as the Lakers have drafted, we started this show talking about Kyle Kuzma and Josh Hart. If you can get a late first, even if it comes along with salary in return, if you can get a late first for Jordan Clarkson and give your scouting department another shot at another Kyle Kuzma, another Josh Hart, do you do it?
I think I personally would. Like, I know I've gone back and forth on this, but like what I wrote over the weekend in one of my pieces on these trade rumors, I think I still will hold to. And I would move Clarkson if you could get a first round pick coming back, even if the contract of the player was a little bit less movable than Clarkson's is.
See, I'd probably vote no, and it's a little bit surprising because I love the way that they've drafted, but I look at that second unit and I look at how many times they wind up late in a shot clock and then just kicking the ball to Clarkson and hoping for him to create something, and I don't see who fills that role in the second unit, and I think that they would struggle so much by losing him that I think that would be a big problem for them. So yeah, I would vote no, but again, there is that temptation to grab that first rounder and let the scouting department do their thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think I would do it. Although, Trevor, you're right on the money in terms of like they don't have anybody else that's going to fill that role, and that would definitely be a knock on the momentum that they have right now. So there's a strong argument to be made not to do it. But I think that if you can get a guy on a rookie contract that can play and be a rotation player, and you can get that in exchange for Clarkson, I think you do it.
Guys, we're going to take a quick break so I can talk about SeatGeek. Now, buying tickets to sporting events and concerts can be complicated and confusing, but there is a better way to buy, and that's by using SeatGeek, which is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. Whether you're searching for a last-minute deal, planning a night out, or need to find the perfect gift, SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. There's nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or a musician in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone. I've had it for some time. It is the easiest way to shop for tickets. It's really awesome. I can be anywhere. In just a few taps, I can instantly find seats. SeatGeek is designed to make your buying experience easier than ever. For example, I just got my wife tickets to Justin Timberlake, and they were super easy to buy using the app. I especially love the way they actually rate all of the deals, because then you know whether or not you're getting a good price. They save you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals, so you don't have to do the legwork. They do it for you. They grade every ticket based on value, and every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with total confidence. Make SeatGeek your go-to app for finding the best deals on every type of ticket, from sports and concerts to comedy and theater. Now, best of all, my listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. All you have to do is download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code NATION. Again, that's the promo code NATION after you download the SeatGeek app, and you get $20 off your first purchase. Highly recommend them. Go download that app. It's SeatGeek, $20 off your first purchase when you enter that promo code NATION. Well, now there's a lot coming up here with this trade deadline, and it's not just Clarkson that has been rumored to be on the block. It's also Randall and Larry Nance Jr. And this is something that's been on my mind quite a bit. I even talked about it a little bit on the last show. Now that Nance is officially in the dunk contest, can the Lakers even trade him? I mean, if they wanted to make a deal, I suppose they still could, but that would be awkward having him in another jersey dunking in Staples Center in the dunk contest. So I'd have to think that almost eliminates him from being traded, in my mind anyway.
No, I don't. I highly doubt they're factoring that. If they're factoring that in, that's honestly like kind of a problem, at least for me, in evaluating them as a front office. As awkward as that would be, if they could get something for Larry Nance Jr., then I think that you do it. Like, if there's a team willing to like pay too much for Larry Nance Jr., then I think you do it, even if he shows up to the dunk contest and like a Celtics jersey or whatever it may be. Like, I know it would be. I almost like want to see that now because of how hilariously awkward it would be.
Yeah, I'm a co-sign with Harrison on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, if they get an offer that blows them away, then clearly. But I'm saying if it was a close one where they were kind of going back and forth, that may end up tipping the scales towards him staying. I mean, just because it's a feather in their cap to have a guy there in Los Angeles in the dunk contest. So we'll see. Who knows? In my mind, I could see where he could actually be the guy that gets moved. I think that he's the easiest piece to part with, where they could kind of fill that role. I mean, I like what Nance does, but I feel like the Lakers have enough guys who can kind of do those things. So I could see him getting moved. And what about Randall? I mean, Randall's got the expiring contract here. We've heard all kinds of rumors. Woj, on his podcast, I think it was just yesterday, said the Lakers are probably not going to commit long-term to Randall, and I know that's not concrete or anything like that, but that's something we've been hearing for some time. Do you think they move Randall if they're planning on just not bringing him back? I mean, people on Twitter were blowing up at the prospect of them not bringing him back based on how well he's been playing this year.
I mean, the other thing, too, there is that...
Go ahead, Harrison.
Oh, I was just going to say the other thing too there is that the offers haven't really exactly been overwhelming, at least the ones that have been reported. Like it hasn't been like that great of a haul that I'd say like, yeah, let's like, if I was them, that I'd say, yeah, let's trade our best player. And like, basically I feel like Randall should be the Lakers' backup free agency plan. Sure, they want to go for these big names, but he's played so well this year that I just would not, unless that you were getting like a really solid first rounder, like a really solid player back, I would not want to part with him just because if and when you do whiff on Paul George and LeBron James, that's a pretty good guy to be able to re-sign as your backup plan in free agency.
This is a thing where the premise of the question is one that I really don't like, but it's the reality. It's the right question to be asking, because if it were up to me, he would not be somebody that would be unlikely to be coming back. It would be, if we get two max guys and we have to move him because we can't create salary elsewhere, can't create space elsewhere, then begrudgingly let Randall go. But if their perspective is that they're not really wanting to commit to him long term, which again I totally disagree with, but if that's where they're coming from, I mean, don't you kind of have to move him at the trade deadline?
Right. Yeah, I mean,
if they're at the point, if they're at the point where they're totally just like out on him and they know that, which I don't know why you would know that right now, but like if they're gonna do that, if they're totally set on getting rid of him, then yeah, I mean, you try to get value for him.
Well, let's talk about that, because from the fan perspective, from what I've seen online, people are loving the way Randall's playing. I've enjoyed watching him play. Watching him bully Melo today was phenomenal. So why would the Lakers be rumored to be not sold on committing long-term to Randall? I mean, it seems like he's done everything a player would need to do in order to secure a long-term deal.
He's not a flashy name.
Yeah, I think there's some bit of like with him in that he was not either Magic or Pelinka's guy. They didn't draft him, and they didn't draft Ingram either, but they caught on to Ingram halfway through his rookie year. So whereas Randall was from the previous regime, and like he's just not their guy. But to me, I don't know how you could watch him this year, and with what he brings to the table, he's such a unique talent. Now I don't know if he's ever going to make an all-star game. He might, but I don't think he will. But he's such a unique talent in that it's very difficult to find another Julius Randle in the NBA with his combination of size, speed, power, and coordination, ball handling ability to switch on the perimeter. And in a league that's gone so small, he's a guy that can switch onto a guard and do a competent job of defending him in isolation. If you go small on him, he's going to bully you. He's going to get offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, bully you down in the paint. And the ability to be a bully and to not be overwhelmed by the quickness and speed of guys on the perimeter. There are so few guys in the NBA that can do that I just wonder if they're looking at him through a lens of what he used to be rather than what he is and will likely be going forward.
Yeah, and I think, like, other than him not being able to shoot, he's exactly the type of player that they want, that they say that they want. They say they want these versatile guys that can run and pass and defend and switch, and he does all of those things except for, like, being able to, shoot threes and things like that. And so I think, to me, honestly, like, it's you brought up the he's not their guy thing, but I think it's almost just as much to me that he's just not a starry name. He's not LeBron. He's not Paul George. And they want to be able to sell some jerseys and sell some season tickets.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you can get those guys, great. And if Randall has to go because of them, then hey, you do what you got to do. But in an instance like that, I mean, think about how narrow that window is, though, right? Like DeMarcus just got hurt. And I'm not even sure if that makes it more or less likely for the Lakers to sign him, but it certainly makes it riskier than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when he was healthy. Like, Westbrook signed his Supermax extension. Like, at this point, are we really just talking about LeBron and Paul George and nobody else? And if anything happens outside of those two, then it's like one max and then what? Or no maxes at all.
Right. That's something that I've been harping on for a while now, is I don't even think you get one max. Do you convince Paul George to leave Oklahoma City if he, to just be the guy on the Lakers and not bring anybody with him? Or do you get LeBron to leave Cleveland just to come play with Lonzo and Ingram and all that? I think you'd have to get both of them in order to make it happen. And I mean, the way that the max free agents have been dropping, you no longer have DeMarcus Cousins out there because of the injury. Russell Westbrook isn't there anymore. This free agent class is not looking very strong at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, it got a lot less strong with DeMarcus being gone, as you said. And then I that's just one less guy for the Lakers to be able to get and say, like, hey, LeBron, hey, Paul George, do you want to team up with him?
Yeah, and we've already started kind of talking about the 2019 free agent class, which was a free agent, class is great. And we talk about Klay Thompson and Kawhi Leonard. Well, Kawhi Leonard's probably going to sign an extension in San Antonio. Complicated, but are they really just going to let Klay walk? I mean, I think that if this offseason doesn't work in terms of getting those guys, they've got to switch their mentality into team building mode. And I think that the Lakers have been trying to skip from 25 wins to 55 wins overnight without crossing through 35 and 45 wins every offseason. And instead of finding like value contracts and guys like that over the summer, it's been either like max guys or bust. I think they need to change that mentality this offseason if they don't end up hitting the jackpot like they're hoping to.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they're going to need to make some steps going forward that are going to allow them to just grow as a unit. That may mean targeting some guys that are on value deals rather than going after these max guys, but that's not quite as exciting, and that's not what Magic and Pelinka sold everybody on last summer. So I think that if they do go that route this summer, we're going to see a little bit of a backlash before the actual basketball starts being played again. I'm talking about the months of July and August, where you're going to see an upset fan base, and I guess that's okay if you can ride it out.
And yeah, if you have that fun young team that's winning 35 to 40 games or whatever, and then you can say to a max star, imagine how good we'd be if you were here. You can put us over the top, and it looks like it's a fun style of basketball to play, and it's in Los Angeles, and all of like the lifestyle and off court opportunities that offers. Then I think that's a lot more attractive pitch than, hey, like, I know these guys are babies right now, but maybe they'll be good enough one day to support you, like you can support them now.
Right. I mean, even this team that they've got right now, you can do that to some extent. I mean, you can go to Paul George and say, hey, we beat your team without Lonzo, and, imagine what this game would look like if you switch jerseys and we have Lonzo Ball here. Try to think moving forward what this will be. So, yeah, I get your point. You could end up kind of building that way. And even if they don't land somebody this summer, then you can continue to build through hopefully some smart signings. Of course, we know how bad a bad contract can really cripple a team, how frustrating that can be. So hopefully that if they don't sign a max contract, I think it is still a buyer's market coming up this summer. And so they can hopefully use their cap space to their advantage and still find some good value deals. Now, trade deadline, before we wrap up, I gotta get your guys' final prediction here. Let's start with you, Harrison. What do you think is going to happen here at the trade deadline? How many Woj bombs are they going to be? Do you think it'll be more or less than, let's go with 8?
As far as the Lakers or just overall? Overall,
and then do you think the Lakers actually make a move?
I think that it'll probably be. I'm gonna take the over on 8. I guess depending on our definition of a Woj bomb, because it seems like the last 10 minutes of free agency always go crazy. Before the trade deadline, always go crazy. And so I think that it'll probably be over 8. And gut feeling, I don't think the Lakers make a move, or at least not a big one.
Pete, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say that's a great line right there at 8. That really had me thinking. I'm going to say under, but just barely. And I also do not think the Lakers make a move. But I think Cleveland, something has to happen there. I think that situation is too toxic. and I think we'll see a couple of, I think, maybe the Clippers move Lou Williams, or, teams that are looking to kind of load up for the, for the playoffs are kind of purchase as they usually do. I think there's going to be a decent amount of activity, but just under eight moves during but no Lakers.
No Lakers moves all around. All right, yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm going to go with Harrison. I think it'll be over because I do think some of those guys, like maybe DeAndre Jordan, maybe Lou Williams, some of those pieces will be on the move, and there's going to be some teams like the Cavs that are going to be buyers and going to be trying to make something happen because, well, they kind of have to at this point. I agree. I don't think the Lakers end up doing anything, although at this point I wouldn't put anything past Magic and Pelinka, so I guess I wouldn't really be surprised either way. Well, trade deadline. Go ahead.
Does Tyler Ennis getting cut count as a Woj bomb, or?
No, I mean, do we count that as something for the trade deadline?
Yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, when it happens, we'll see if it happens 2 minutes after the trade deadline.
Yeah, we'll have a buyout season coming up pretty soon too. But I don't think, there have been rumors of maybe Brook Lopez getting bought out. I don't think they do that.
Yeah, I saw that too. I don't see any reason for doing that. Why would the Lakers buy out Brook Lopez? I could get maybe if they weren't winning any games at all and they were kind of doing him a favor, but he's contributing to big wins. So why would they buy him out?
I think the only reason
it's not like they haven't sent him to tank, right?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think the only reason they'd buy him out is if he really, really wanted out, which I don't get. I don't think he does. He seems to have bought it. Other than that game in Orlando where there was a lot made of his behavior on the bench, but he really responded to it and he came back and he's played really well in the 2 games since then.
I think he just wants to play. I mean, think of who Lopez has been throughout the entirety of his career. He's a good player and he's probably been underutilized. They've got, I think, Kuzma's emergence kind of changed the calculus in a good way, but it created a good problem in that it's oh wow, we've got 4 pretty good guys at the 4 and 5 spots that all deserve to play now, and they only expected that to be 3, right? So Kuzma's emergence kind of meant that he was closing games, and sometimes he's going to play 30 minutes, and Lopez has been a victim of that, and it's been a tough balancing act for Luke. But I think that if you give Lopez minutes, and he helps out there, he's a contributor, so if Luke continues to do that, I think Lopez will be fine in terms of being happy. He just didn't like playing 9 minutes, and that's understandable.
Yeah, I think that's totally understandable, and it's he's such a good presence in the locker room with the young guys that there's value in that, even aside from him contributing to wins. But he's been doing that, and especially when you watch how he played against OKC, I think if you're the Lakers and you're trying to win games down the stretch and impact that perception, like we were talking about earlier, then I don't think that you can buy him out. Maybe if you could get value for him at the deadline, then you do that. But I don't really see a reason to buy him out unless he demands it. And then it's okay, we're going to do this agent a favor.
Right. I mean, Brook Lopez wants to do 2 things, right? He wants to play basketball and he wants to go to Disneyland, right? So, he's with the perfect team. This is the perfect situation. Would either of you guys be opposed to hanging on to Brook Lopez next summer, bringing him back on a reasonable deal? I know Eric Pincus has been a big advocate of doing that.
I mean, it depends on what you consider a reasonable deal, but yeah, I think Lopez, if anything, has been undervalued this year in terms of what he brought. I think that especially defensively, just because he's so big and lanky that his flaws are so obvious and they're so easy to pick out when he does mess up. But overall, he's been one of the Lakers' best players.
Yeah, I would not be opposed to it, but I guess my interpretation of reasonable is probably lower than what Brook Lopez's would be.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
Probably pay him like maybe $8 million a year, which he'd be probably looking for 10 and over. But if you can get him at a 3.24 type of deal, I think that qualifies as reasonable. But much above that, I'd pass on that.
And who knows? It's like Trevor said. Maybe he's willing to take a pay cut to be close to Disneyland. That's a lifestyle. That's one of the benefits of LA that people don't talk about.
Yeah. What if we throw in a season pass? I think that might help right there.
I don't know if that's allowed under
that's at least another $1 million a year, right?
Yeah, something like that.
All right, guys. Well, hey, let's wrap things up here. Definitely appreciate both of you guys coming on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always fun coming on with you, Trevor, and it's especially great when my internet coach / dad gets to come on too.
So just to recap here, we've got Pete Zayas of Laker Film Room and, of course, Forum Blue and Gold, and Harrison Faigen of LakersNation.com. These guys are both awesome. Always appreciate when they can come on here. And we've been talking all about the trade deadline, which again is coming up Thursday, February 8th. Keep your eye on LakersNation.com for all the latest news. And that's going to about do it for today. Again, don't forget, head over to the SeatGeek app and use that promo code NATION to get $20 off your next purchase. That's it for today. My name is Trevor Lane, and this has been the Lakers Nation Podcast.